Yo, what's up, everybody? Coming at you with another video. Scotty, GLL. Hope you guys are having a great night. We are back at it again with another epic testimony with our friend D. Welcome to the stream, my friend. How's everything going for you, man?
Good. Our stated goal 6 months ago, we started working together 6, 7 months ago, was I said, I want to be as good with white chicks as you are with black chicks. I want to be pulling crazy stunts. I had already had pretty low, very low anxiety or inhibition, but we wanted to eliminate what little there was there. I mean, you were spot on. I remember you saying, I think there's still a little bit of anxiety there because I didn't like going after chicks where there were more than one, like two or three sets.
Yeah.
I didn't like going into stores and making moves like in stores instead of out in an open market, open street, whatever, where there are like 3, 4 points of exit. You've got me doing some crazy stuff now, and I even got to perform some of it in front of another client of yours.
Yeah, the hired
Who's
gun stuff too would be the third one I would add
Yes,
too. Yeah, I think it was
yeah,
those three, unless we're missing probably some, but that was the big three right there that you weren't taking any shots with them for sure.
right. And we got to talk about all of it because all of it came into play in just 2 sessions. One session that I did with you, and then also one where I came down because a new client of yours specifically requested, well, I want to see D pull this stuff with hot white chicks. And I said, okay, I'm happy to do it. And we had some pretty crazy Scotty level stuff happen. And in addition to that, like two pretty epic dates where you were talking about the second swing. And it was the only time I've ever heard you say, dude, you may have surpassed me in this regard. Because you said that wasn't a second swing you took at this chick. That was like a third, fourth, or possibly fifth swing where you just wouldn't let go. And just turned out to be a super hot blonde personal trainer chick in Brickell who gets hit up all the time. Had a great date with her. She decided that I was, quote, too Catholic for her. Not a whole lot that I can do about that, but did everything that I could up front. Everything that I pay you to do, you've delivered for me. So yeah, I mean, we should just get into it and break it all down.
Yeah, man, let's
So
do it. Let's absolutely do it. I mean, yeah, that's by the way, this guy is a phenomenal client as well in terms of really being able to take whatever feedback, instruction, and I'm talking immediate implementation, and he executes. I mean, so, I've been very fortunate with somebody who's really, really good at taking instruction and just being able to turn it around immediately. There's been no time that I could even recall where you've slipped up, like stumbled, or when I told you to change it and you listened to me and you are ready to receive whatever instruction you need. You really take the ball and run with it, man. It's incredible.
I
So
try, dude.
yeah.
It was like that when I was growing up competing in tennis. All the coaches told me, "Hey, you may not have the natural speed, you may not have the natural height, but you're extremely coachable.
Mm.
I tell you to do something, I tell you to make a certain adjustment in your game, and you just do it. It's a quality that served me well in life. And if you're gonna pay the best guy in the country, if you're gonna pay Scotty to take a look at this stuff for you, what is the point if I'm not gonna listen to the feedback and do what you're trying to teach me to do?" Because that was the goal. I said I want to do with hot white chicks and Latina and some Asian chicks what you do with the black chicks. I've seen you just completely light them up and begin immediately escalating like you're out of some kind of a movie on the street in the daytime and leave them walking away dazed to like stumbling around. And I wanted to be able to create that kind of effect. And more, probably every guy listening to this can relate to it. That's becoming just plain necessary. Because what are your options? Some guy that was a fun, cutesy conversation and you traded phone numbers. How's that going to work out for you? How is it working out for you? Are you going to get on the apps and just hope that you match with the super hot 25-year-old chick who's getting blown up, especially down here in hyper competitive markets? Whether it's come on my yacht, bro, pick out your sexiest bikini, bro, come to the Bahamas. How's that going to work out for you if you're anything less than that? I'm sorry to say it, and I'm not saying that it's good or right or healthy or fair, because it's none of those things. But the dating market right now is, if you want an even semi-attractive chick, she's going to be in demand. And for her, you are either her dream man or you are nothing. And that's all there is to it. So, there's a certain look threshold, and the rest is how you present yourself. You can only control what you can control, but you better control all of it if you even want a shot. And this is before you're even evaluating her. Like, is she really compatible with you? I know different guys have different goals. Some guys just want to slam out as many chicks as possible. But this is even before you have enough leverage that you can be evaluating her. This is just where you have to be. Otherwise, what are you doing? You're just spinning your wheels. You're just another guy popping up in a blue text in her phone. That's it.
Yeah,
So,
there's a lot of prerequisites that need to be taken care of for sure. You know, I do think a lot of times the emphasis is like put on the women a little too much, especially towards the beginning when you're just really trying to get this skill set down pat and learn and improve. It just
right.
that's going to be an obstacle up front. And a lot of times, if guys just there's a lot of truth bombs that D is spitting right now, and they're not always comfortable, they're not always pretty, so, but it's you really, if you've gotten this far, and you're listening to this, it's like you're ready to receive this type of truth. And it hurts sometimes, but you got to get past it, man. You got to be able to accept it. And honestly, when you do that, at least you are headed in the right direction, when it comes to getting better with this stuff, because there's going to be lots of ups and downs. That's a fact. That just doesn't, it's not like linear or whatever. It's peaks and valleys. Even as you get more and more advanced, it's very unpredictable at times, to say the least. But you got to do your
Yep.
part for sure. And then as a beginner getting better, you really, I've said it before, and I did the video on it about being able to lower your standards as a beginner. That's not a long-term solution, obviously, but I think it is kind of necessary when you're still dealing with the anxiety, the social anxiety, all these issues. You're all issued up, and then it's like on top of that, you're demanding certain women, that you feel like you deserve or something like that. It's just, I think when you guys get honest with yourself, you'll see that, wait a minute, I really, I'm not even at that point yet to make that distinction. I'm having a hard time holding a conversation with anybody, let alone like any stranger, let alone a stunner on the street. Like, let's start. You got to crawl before you can walk. Let's start with two, three productive conversations a day with a woman, a stranger, off the street or in a grocery store. You'll see how challenging it is. So
It's
you'll
true.
get there. You'll get there eventually. You just got to be, and again, it's about being honest with yourself, especially at the beginning, and knowing where you stand and knowing where you are right now, and what value you do bring and what experience do you bring, to be making calls like that. Really think about it.
Right. And if you remember, in the first 2 months that we worked together, that's what you wanted to see out of me, with very minimal anxiety and having had plenty of bodies and experience and successes in the past. You said, I just want you taking more shots. And I said,
Yeah.
okay. So, I mean, for like 2 months, I worked with you and I was going after chicks that were certainly far from my ideal, but they were there, they were in front of me, and that wasn't the goal. The goal was to get better, to work on the skill set, and it required reps. That's all there is to it. So, I mean, it's an absolute necessity for any guys that are listening to this. If you ever want to get from just point A to point B, let alone to point, Z, where you're with your dream girl, or you've got, the bevy of chicks or whatever it is that you want, you got to take the first step. You've got to at least get the reps in. And
Yeah.
then I think after about 2 months, you said something to me like, okay, you've kind of earned the right to pick and choose a little bit more. But anyway, let's get into it because we got a lot to cover.
Yeah, there's no question, man. One last thing, really, really
Yeah.
quick, I'll wrap that up, is think about it, like in this moment, guys listening, like, and one thing, especially with D, where are these girls right now? There's so much emphasis on them. Like the one thing that stuck, they all can't, all these women come and go, the faces come and go. The one thing that actually sticks is the new pathways that were created in his brain. That the skill set is what really stuck with him, the experience. Like that's, and at the end of the day, that's always with you. Those are where the permanent changes are being made. You know, get your mind initially off the faces. The girls will come and go, but your form, it's like you're learning a jab or whatever. Like that's the stuff that's going to actually stick with you. Your opponent's going to change, but your form and what your controllable, so to speak, is going to be the stuff that sticks with you permanently.
That's a great analogy, and it's absolutely true. So the stated goal for our last session was I want to see more 2, 3 sets or more. I don't want to see any hesitation with hired guns. And I want to make sure you're taking a second swing at some of these chicks. And we hit all that out of the park, maybe even more so. So they were not ideal conditions. It was actually the day after Charlie Kirk was murdered. There was Miami PD all over the place. There was a weird heaviness and apprehension about the entire city, maybe even the entire country that day. It was raining. This became very relevant. And it still turned out to be one of my very best sessions ever because we just put all that noise out of our head and said, well, we're here. We're going to make the best of it. So the first thing was we went to that Bayside market and there was a hired gun, super hot Hispanic chick, and just no hesitation, went in there, went after her. Turns out she's some like mini social media star with like 60,000 Instagram. You remember this? I sent it over. I was like, me and the Instagram chicks.
That's actually low considering some of the numbers we have seen, man. It's like that's becoming like a low end IG model. It's insane, dude. It really is insane. Yeah.
And just like got her number. She was super enthusiastic. She was hitting me back. I couldn't get that one out, but it's like, okay, the stated goal of getting a chick 20 years younger than I am, little social media wannabe, and hired gun, just bust through all of that. That was how we started. And then the next one was a super hot blonde, turned out to be personal trainer chick, was walking down the street. It was raining pretty good at this point. And I went in head on exactly the way Scotty taught me. And she just immediately brushed me off and said, no, no, no. And I just persisted. And finally she laughed. The key for me was she made eye contact. Like she locked eyes with me. That's a phrase that you've always reiterated, that's always stayed with me. And it's like, if they're doing that, there's something there. And so I just kept persisting. And I think at one point I was just barking orders at her saying, stop, turn around, stop, turn around. And she said, I don't like being told what to do. And I said, then don't stop, but turn around, or something like that. And she laughed, and we went back and forth. It took a little bit, and sure enough, she said, okay, yeah, like let's go out. And when I was out on the date with her, it was a really fun, great date. We were making out half the time. It's just a super hot blonde personal trainer chick in Brickell. I said, what what was it that finally made you stop? Was it the way I looked? And she said, well, you are my type. You're in good shape. And she said something like, I like blonde guys. But she said, what really made me stop basically was the behavior. She said,
Mm,
I just thought to myself, who is this guy who
mm.
won't take no for an answer? And the other interesting thing she said is she said she equates that to other behaviors in life. She said, I knew immediately this is a guy who's ambitious, who just doesn't give up easily in life. So I think she articulated something that a lot of these chicks respond to subconsciously. That
That's
when
crazy.
you do these things, something clicks in their brain where they think this guy's different. This guy actually is high value. It's funny, you brought this up before. You said that mystery brought up certain attraction triggers and that one of them was pre-selection. And it kind of blew your mind when you had the realization that just making these approaches shows pre-selection. And this is kind of the level beyond that, right? Not
Yeah.
only do you show, hey, this guy is pre-selected, but this guy doesn't back down from challenges in life. Like this is the kind of guy you want. So
Yeah.
once you develop that and really hone that skill, it'll make a big impact on these chicks. And it made a big impact on her. She just verbalized it, plain as day.
That's not the first time you've done that either. Like, you guys yourself could test this theory and ask them, like, when you really hit one out of the park and everything goes well, you guys could test this out too and ask them, like, what is it that, made you really like me or be attracted or what brought you out? Like, and you've gotten that answer quite a bit, you know. From what I believe, you
It's
asked
true.
another girl about that too, right? The super
I
hot
did.
one. Remember the super super hot long brown, yeah, that brown hair girl where
Yes.
me and Jay were just sitting there watching. It was incredible. So yeah, that's
Yes.
a common theme, dude. It really is. And they may not even, like you said, it doesn't matter if they verbalize it or not. You guys got to be aware that is happening at a subconscious level, at this point too. So um, it's good stuff. And that day, not to mention, we faced a lot of obstacles, like you mentioned. There was a few really. It goes to show you that perseverance and willing to just plow through these things and just keep going. You somehow get rewarded for them, man. It was one of our better outings, and we had a lot, like, things that never happened over the course of the last 7 months. There was, with one of my sets, it happened to go left, and with the tension being high from the Charlie Kirk thing, everybody was very, very jumpy. And one girl got, like, totally overreacted. And it was a long story. She kind of followed us, but we had to, like, stop gaming for a little while and leave this whole section. We just wanted to get away from the whole situation. It wasn't good. So we just left, and, like, we overcame a lot of obstacles, which is super important when it comes to game. You could really summarize that as what it's going to take once you guys are prepared to, like, go through this journey and process of what it's going to feel like, you know?
We did. We did.
Yeah.
And we just kept plowing away. So there was that. And at one point, uh, there was what? There was the other hot blonde who was with like four or five of her friends. They all looked like models. They're all marching down the street. Remember this one? And I just stopped the one I wanted. And she left her friends
That
to
is
stick
true.
around with me. Because I remember you saying, bro, when they leave their friends, stick with you. That's a pretty big green light. The whole troop had to come back and drag her away because you were practically making out with her on the street after 20 or 30 seconds. And that chick still hits me up to this day. She doesn't live here. So it's like, well, no big deal. You let me know, and next time you're in Miami, and me and you'll get together. She lived in Texas. But yeah, I mean, that was another immediate ramp up. And there was the, kind of one for the ages. There were two hot blondes. And Scotty and I now have an inside joke of sometimes, especially in South Florida, chicks will keep themselves in good shape, wear really tight, revealing outfits. And Scotty calls it blonde maxing, where they'll look really good from 30 or 40 feet away. Then you get up close and it's like, whoa, this chick is, well, probably my age, right? That's happened to us a few times. Scotty calls it blonde maxing, and we think it's pretty funny. But
It
anyway,
is.
you said, look at that over there. Are those two chicks hot or are they blonde maxing? And I said, let's go find out. So, charged in, and they didn't even speak very good English. And it turned out one of them was a former Miss Brazil. And same thing, where, I mean, obviously, very, very little language or little Harry Potter spells, trying to find the right little phrases and word games. It was nearly all nonverbal, and got her out, and then just immediately pulled her back to my place. That was like a 2 hour date. Pulled her back to my place. My rule that I have with God is that I shouldn't be sleeping with these girls if I can't see a future with her, but she was super hot. That one had a couple 100,000 IG followers. I mean, she's a pageant chick. And, she didn't even speak English half the time. We had to use Google Translate. So there was really nothing that we could do besides get physical with each other, right? Imagine me being some kind of game guy trying to tell stories, or be really jokey, funny, or find certain conversational tricks and hacks, rather than just relying on primal instincts like you have taught me. How would that have turned out? Instead, that's where that went. A little bit of a slip up on my part, but I'm still a red-blooded male, and she was super hot, and I don't particularly want to date a chick who can't speak English very well. But it's a testament to what Scotty's taught me, that chick doesn't even really speak English and comes out, hooks up, all the, and super nice girl who continues to blow me up to this day. Just an actually like super nice, hot girl.
Incredible, man. Yeah, that one is mind blowing. And that day happened to be the whole entire the team, so to speak. I have a game group, a bunch of guys who have worked with me one on one. I believe it was like four dudes ended up all getting some action that night, so it was pretty coincidental and nice. It was a really, yeah, it was just cool to have, and that's another benefit when you guys work with me. You guys get the access to the group and other guys. The fellowship is there, the brotherhood is there, which is key, especially during these tough times out there. Doing this as a lone wolf is really rough. It is rough, and I've been there, and this is why I created it. So that people could have the support they need. So yeah, dude,
Yeah.
that's incredible, and I still think like that summarizes so much of what this past 7 months has been about. Then we barely discuss like verbal game at all, like
No.
minimal. I'm just watching him like a hawk and seeing how he's conducting himself, and what does that look like a dude who's, a friend? Does he look like a guy who's just in command of this interaction, where he could just take the lead and bring her to a car or whatever? Like you could just feel it, it's more of a feel and a look, that you can see. Picture's worth 1,000 words. You can really just feel it off rip. And the way she's responding, it's incredible. This girl was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And I don't know, I think everybody's got their own little hangups and criteria for their girl or potential girlfriend. Yeah, I'd be tempted to be with that chick, like keep her around
Okay.
because she was.
Obviously, I was, but dude, English is a pretty big one.
That's
I
true.
mean,
That's true. That's true. That's true. But I didn't know she was. I had no idea she was still blowing you up over here, man. This girl really like. head over heels, dude. That type of falling in love and infatuation, you guys could all have it, man. This is all attainable, with hard work and doing a little work yourself, and it's insane, dude. These girls are getting infatuated with you, head over heels. And these are
So what's funny?
Brazilian models. Brazilian models. It's insane.
So what's funny is I asked her the same question, right? I said, I think over Google Translate, I think I had to say, what made you stop? Because plenty of guys hit on you, all that. And she said it was the way you looked at me. And she kind of like tried to do the Scotty look where, you're sort of looking at him and you're amused, but you're also just really turned on.
Mm.
It's just a man who sees something he really wants. And that was exactly what she said.
So true, man. I mean, you say it so much, like the primal. It's about like tapping into and giving yourself the permission to like, activate these dormant like faculties inside of us to connect that and give the girl that the beautiful gift of that exchange and to feel that masculine presence. That's why that is authentic. It's very real and genuine, and it's women can feel it. You can really move them with that. You know what I mean? When a Brazilian girl doesn't really speak English is saying that, it was a look, yeah, it's a sly look, and it's, I've always been told, like, I would rather have the student who is honestly driven by some sort of lust. There has to be some sort of sexual or romantic pull, as opposed to someone who is just doing this for some sort of like weird validation and, you know, as more of a hobby. Guys get into for all the wrong reasons, or they may not even know why they're really what's pulling them and driving them to make, get out there and put yourself out there. You know what I mean? So that's a big key is you do have to be driven. And D himself in a lot of these sets, I mean, the guy is full blown motor is going full blown. So, he's obviously, you know, drawn by the beauty of a female. It's the beautiful thing, most beautiful thing God ever created. You know what I mean? From an aesthetic standpoint. I mean, these girls are just stunning. So it's kind of hard not to, and I think it's very natural to, obviously a certain degree, very, very natural.
Yeah, it's true. And the night wasn't over. There were a couple other, I think, just rinky-dink numbers, nothing too exciting. And then there was a super hot, dark-haired, blue-eyed girl. I couldn't tell how old she was. And she was with a tall, also hot friend who just wasn't really your type. They were both white. And I think I just turned around, and at that point, I must have been just really giving something off. And I just said, "You're very pretty," and just started moving straight in. And again, it was the eye lock thing. And we had probably what, like a 15-minute conversation. And Scotty really is the best wingman out there. You know, the friend wasn't really Scotty's type, so he just turned it all into, look at them, they look like they really like each other. Oh, you guys look like a hot couple, and that's always my cue to like wrap my arm around her. And the chick was just super cool and enthusiastic, and coughed up the number after 15 minutes, whatever, hit me back right away. Unfortunately, she is out of town because she had a death in the family, but we're continuing to text back and forth. But you asked me afterward, you said, how old those chicks were. And I said, nah, I don't know, maybe like mid 20s. And you
Hmm.
said, nah, bro, they just turned 21.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Here
What
I am,
more? What?
46.
Yeah. What more needs to be said? It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, in some cases, you could be that girl's father. It's crazy. So
Yeah.
goes to show you that it really is. They're being triggered by these behaviors and the masculine energy that you're presenting, to these women. It's insane. I mean, it really is. I look upon these sets with like a happy father, you know what I mean? Like a proud a proud daddy. It's because it's like it is rewarding, and now it's just a matter of honestly a little bit more volume. He's a really busy guy, so it's just a little bit more volume and finding the right match. But it's not a matter like there's minimal like adjustments when it comes to just actual skill set ability and stuff like that. So, you know, a lot of it
You
is
know what's funny?
we're handling the controllables, and the rest there's the other side of the equation to it, in which, you know, the mystery and the unknown, in which, you know, it's bound to happen. You know, it's just bound to happen. So
It's
go ahead.
really
I'm sorry.
funny. Again, big credit to you. I just got off the phone with my best friend. We've known each other for 25, probably 30 years at this point. We grew up together.
Yeah.
And so I know his mom, of course, and his mom's a really nice lady. And she'll occasionally ask after me. And she said, you know, D must be kind of lonely down there in South Florida without you to hang out with because you've had to do all this traveling lately. And my best friend goes, Mom, D's never really lonely. And it's just kind of true. I mean, I remember after at session, you said, bro, you're stocked up. And I said, yeah, you know, we got a lot we got to work through. And then after that, you had another client who was a super nice guy, but wanted to, you know, see it all demonstrated on white chicks. And I said, okay, you know, I'm game for it. I'll come down really briefly. But that was the night I was taking out Miss Brazil. I said, I've got an hour and a half, 2 hours max. And then I got to be back up here because Miss Brazil's coming on up to me.
That was
And
super nice of you, by the way, man. I
yeah,
really
no big
appreciate it.
deal.
And that's where it goes to
Had a
show that
blast.
we're so beyond just you know, client boss relationship. You know what I mean? It's crazy how close we've become as friends, and like a brother, really, honestly. That's something that a, you know, a family member would do. You know what I mean? He took the time out, went to church, came back, really over delivered for this guy. You know what I mean?
We wound up doing some pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I remember you saying in that set, which was already, or the session that was already legendary, you said, because I think I was looking at two smoking hot chicks that were having dinner or something like that. And you said, now that's when you've really arrived. When you don't even care if these chicks are sitting down eating, not even looking for dudes, and you roll up, that's the high risk, high reward play. And I
Yeah.
said, "Yeah, you're right. I don't know if I'm quite ready for that to walk into these, you know, fancy Miami venues and just bust in on two hot chicks and, you know, hit them with something." And yet that was exactly what I did. There were two chicks at the Henry sitting outside just trying to have brunch, two hot blonde chicks, just busted in on them. I can't remember what I said, but it was, you know, something overtly romantic or sexual at the one that I wanted. And
Mm-hmm.
then, you know, just included the friend. My little thing is, if you want to call it game, whatever, that's fine. My little thing is, I never ignore the friend entirely, right? It's like make your intentions clear with the chick that you want. And then I always turn to whoever else is there and tell them, like, look, you're pretty too. I
Yeah.
just have a type, you know, and it kind of periodically include her in the conversation. So she doesn't just have to sit there and watch all this go down. You know, that's just going to create an uncomfortable adversarial thing for the friend. So I don't really see any reason to do that, and there's just no reason to do that. And 99% of the time, you know, hot chicks roll with other hot chicks, so it's genuinely true. And I'm also telling them, look, you're hot too, or whatever. I just happened to see her first, or this is my type, or you know, whatever it might be. But great conversation. Gave me the phone number. That's another one that hit me back right away, but super young, still in school, part-time job, and just couldn't get her out, right? So, quite frankly, just couldn't get her attracted enough because there was a literal fence in front of us, a partition, so I couldn't really amp things up physically the way I could with the other 21-year-old. Then There was maybe one of my craziest sets ever. There was a super hot, long, red haired, green eyed chick that was just marching down the street. Do you
Yep.
remember this?
Of course, yeah.
And
And
she's turned,
just to wrap this up, hold that one
yeah,
thought real
yeah, yeah.
quick. I wanted to chime in there about the ability that to just go the maxing out of your social freedom, so to speak, in which you can now open anything you want at any given moment. You know what I mean? Like within reason, like two sets that most guys would not have even cracked that open. You know what I mean? Or it's like that aspect of game, if you want to call it that, is really, it proves to me that that's a huge element that once that is like removed, all that fear and analysis by paralysis, this or that, bad positioning, bad this, bad that, all the excuses start to stockpile. There's no, you like throw yourself in. It's like you don't even think about it anymore. It really, that's a part of game that doesn't get discussed enough in these circles, in my opinion. And it accounts for a lot because people want to get to all the next step and the next step, but that initial first punch, that first hit is critical, man. It's like when you get that first punch down, it's like a lot of good things follow from that because it's just, they respond very well to it. Women will react really well to it. And all of a sudden it prompts the mind at that point to be a little bit more creative. It's smiling, it's doing that. So if you get that first step down pat to where you're not thinking, no hesitation, nothing, you see and you go, it's like, it just doesn't, that's a part of game that just shows me that it's real. The thing is real. You can't just get these guys because you wouldn't be able, it like you said, it displays a tremendous amount of risk-taking ability. So it's like a DHV plugged in there, really. It's ballsy as fuck. You know what I mean? And it keeps getting, the stakes keep getting higher and higher and higher, and that's a perfect lead into the next one, which I don't think I've ever seen, quite frankly, all my years of doing this. So I think that's a perfect lead in for, you want maxed out social freedom and seeing something you want and going for it. eh, Go ahead, bud. Go ahead with this one.
She was across the street. I could see this chick with a, perfect body, big fakers, whatever, long red hair, green eyes. She was across the street. So I start to cross the street to go right at her, and she turns into the Miami East Hotel. And I think, well, now I got to chase her into the hotel. So I did. I thought that she would just be in the lounge area. Maybe she's, going at the front desk or something. Maybe she was picking up. They got a little cafe there. I figured that'd be a lot easier. No, she's heading into the elevator. So the elevator is starting to close, and I threw my hand out in front of it and stopped the elevator from closing, kind of startled her, and then just immediately went into the elevator, hit her with your shocker. I said, no, 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 you can't go anywhere. You are absolutely beautiful. I saw you from across the street. And she just immediately, oh my God. And then, we rode up to the roof. I didn't plan this out very well. I escalated on her for, I don't know, 3, 5 minutes, whatever it was. I didn't plan this out very well. You need a key card to get back down, which of course I didn't have because I was not a hotel guest. So I had to wait for somebody else to get back on the elevator, and then they took me down to the lobby so I could get out of there.
Dude, I didn't even know that.
Um,
That's funny.
yes, and that was another one that hit me up right away. It was actually a super messed up situation. She said, "Yeah, I can meet you whenever you want, but it's got to be during the day." And I said, "Well, what's going on at night? Why can't you meet up at night? Do you have kids or something?" Because we didn't talk for that long. And she said, "No, I have a partner I live with." And I was like, "Well, I don't want to get involved in any of that. I don't want that." But it goes to show you, she's out there living with some dude, and then some other guy breaks in, pulls stunt like this, And then all of a sudden, they're responding to you in a way that they're probably not responding to their own live-in boyfriend or whatever it is.
Girls like the foreplay for them and the buildup is almost like equivalent. They get so much out of it, like than we can ever imagine. It's like they totally disassociate. They're basically like having mental sex at that point with themselves. It's insane because you could kind of like like when you're escalating, I don't want to go off too on a tangent here, but like when you see it all the time, they like start to lose themselves. It's incredible. And like they just try to like come back to reality, snap out of it. But the places they go, it's like they're getting off by all this stuff. It's crazy. So that's like some weird plausible deniability, like they're cheating, but they're not really cheating, but they're
Mhm.
happily accepting this off this like, or I don't even know sometimes if they can even control it, quite frankly. It's just like they're so they're so ruled by like their emotions and stuff, and they're on this roller coaster, and you're really just piquing their interest, and they're gone. Their mind, their logical mind is absolutely gone. So it's fun to watch. It really is fun to watch.
Which is another one where I told her I'm just not interested in a situation like that. You let me know when you're single and you move out. Just continues to hit me up. I'm the one ghosting them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which, I mean, how many guys out there are doing that? How many guys out there are doing that to her specifically? A chick like that. I mean, this is what we talk about, and this is what your client said. He said, D, you operate from a place of abundance. And I said, no, Scotty and I create the abundance because there's no other way to do it. There's just no other way to do it.
You don't think it's
Society,
because you don't think it's a default intrinsic thing that we all are just given off rip. Like, yeah, I'm kind of on board with that too. I don't think it's something that needs to be created and honestly activated, so to speak, because it's laying dormant if it is there. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It needs to be developed just like your brain. You know, it's a
yeah,
cheat code, really.
right. But there is no other way to do it. No matter how much supposed abundance me and you have, the deck is stacked against us in this sewer culture society we live in. Everything
Hmm.
is completely tilted toward women. There is just no other way. You've got to be elite at this game and create that kind of abundance for yourself just to have a fighting chance at trying to level the playing field. And it still won't be level. A chick like that can just hop on her Instagram or crack open her phone and choose her own adventure. It's got offers from all over the place. Dudes
But
don't
yeah,
have that option.
here's the thing. You really assume that and present that and believe that at your core that you really are the real deal high value man. You're not a faker. And people could pick up on that, you know. They could pick up on that stuff, man. That's
Right.
the whole name of the game. Like women are always sizing you up, trying to call your bluff. Are you who
Right.
you say you are? Are you who you present yourself to be? That's the name of the game. So you are that dude. You know what I mean? And at that point, you got to ask yourself, why am I taking advice from some dating coach telling me to go indirect and be like passive aggressive and do that? Ask yourself a question. Would like some celebrity, does he need to do that? Or does he see a really, really hot girl and goes extremely direct with them straight off rip? Like, let's hang out, like gets right down to business really, really quick. And
Right.
most of the time, he's getting a very positive reaction from that. There's no
Right.
need for that guy with super high value to play these games. It just doesn't sit well. It's not congruent, number one. That is not congruency. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's what we teach over here is to tap into that part of ourselves because we all can tap into that. It needs to be developed. You know what I mean? And if you're that guy, there's no need for beating around the bush and playing all these little games. You go in direct. You go direct and get right down to business as soon as possible. You know what I mean? That's my theory with that. And that's a whole nother discussion about product market and going to where you are that guy to amplify that feeling of like you are a commodity where you are, so you got to find the right market for you to see this, to enable it, because you're right, it's going to be difficult for a lot of guys to develop, if they ever do get a chance to tap into that. It's without having the status. You don't even need it. This is something beyond that. That stuff helps. It helps, I guess, curate it or trigger it potentially, but it's not a guarantee that just because you have a big bank account that you're going to be this dude and tapping into that, which we're talking about. That's no guarantee, but it could help. So I'm all about trying to find any little advantages you can get, and you should understand deeply what market you're going to tap into. This is a big part of the game. Without this, that's the foundation. Without it, throw it away. It's trash. It's not going to be able to work. So we want to get you to that point so that you don't have to play these little games and go indirect and do this and do that. You want to like steamroll these girls, so to speak, and be very, very clear with your intentions and extremely sexual. That's what a celebrity would do to a girl. That's what they normally do. You know what I mean? That I want that girl. They literally just point, or if they walk
Yep.
up to them, they're extremely direct because they know they're an extremely sought after commodity.
Right.
That could be
Right.
developed. That could be developed.
It's true. And that leads us to the next couple of approaches. There was a really cute, tall, I'm 5'11". It turned out this chick was 5'11", if not 6 foot. Came marching down and required 2 or 3 swings again. But
Mm-hmm.
once I just persisted that small amount, then, ramped it up physically very quickly. I at one point looked back and saw Scotty smiling from ear to ear.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of that, I don't know, it was maybe it's pretty long interaction, 7-10 minutes, whatever it might be. She went in for the kiss because remember, you came back and you were like, bro, did she attack you in the middle of the day? And then I was like, yeah, I guess so. And we looked her up, and that chick was 22. Here I am at 46. Then right after that, me and Scotty called this the exorcist approach. I didn't even see this chick. What I saw were 2 dudes in a row basically spin their necks around because she was walking away from me. I didn't see her face. All I saw was long black hair. They basically spun their necks around like they were possessed to get another look at this chick as she passed them. And I turned to Scotty and I said, I don't know what that is, but I better go find out. And, I just chased her down, did the same thing where the initial advance sort of rebuffed. She was like, yeah, yeah, hi, whatever. And just kept walking. And then I said, no, 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 and just planted her, did my thing. And I mean, that chick she was exceptionally hot. She may have been like the hottest one of the day.
Yeah.
Just a super hot Venezuelan girl. And you check out her IG. She's just out there living the life, getting flown all over the country. That was another one that hit me up. But those have, I mean, this we could practically do a whole nother podcast on is elite hot chicks in high competition markets, the unique challenges that they present. I mean, the burn rate on those is astronomical. They're here today, gone tomorrow because they are just getting hit up. I remember you would have
And
laughed really hard.
it's so heavily concentrated in this area too that it bleeds into just these average looking women too, who have now adopted this
Yep.
standard of living, which is so delusional and insane looking from the outside in, but it doesn't matter. That's why a lot of this like SMV stuff is total and utter nonsense, especially down here. You see immediately like you're getting these like Brazilian models 1 second, and then 2 seconds later, there's like an average five that's like, nah, not interested or something. It's It's crazy. So throw all that garbage away, let go of all your ridiculous notions and beliefs that all of a sudden it's you read something on the internet that, oh, okay, that guy's an 8 and she's a 6, and that means that she's gonna like you and this and that. It's ridiculous. It just doesn't map out in real life when you're in the field, you know. It just
No,
doesn't.
no. It's looks and behavior, and I would lean toward it heavier on behavior.
Yeah.
But you have to be, and you guys said this. You guys were the only ones saying this way back in the day with Good Looking Loser. As long as you meet the chick's looks threshold, you're gonna be fine. The rest of it is your behavior, your social freedom, and what you always called your killer instinct. Are you
Yep.
going for it? Are you really treating them as if you're the celebrity, she's the fangirl?
And killer instinct is one of those things that I was talking about before. It's at the very beginning as well as the very end too. Just like that initial go in you to just go, like nothing stopping you. That's a part of the killer instinct as well, and the ability to just seal the deal as well, with just minimal hesitation, being extremely decisive, with your actions and your movements, and very precise, extremely precise. You know, that's kind of the thing. Yeah, that's a great memory, man. That is true. Those are two major pillars that are absolutely essential, you know.
And to give you a quick recap, me and Scotty already talked about this before, but a couple weeks ago, I was in New York and I was there to see the US Open with a friend of mine. And he kind of finds my behavior entertaining. So he said, if you want to beat the streets, said, yeah, sure, show me around New York. And we were in Soho. I already told you this story, but just for your audience, looked over. My buddy was actually, he's the one who spotted her. He said, whoa, look at that one. That's like the best one all day. And it was this 6 foot blonde, turned out to be, of course, like model. And I'm 5'11" for everybody. She was wearing these like high heeled boots with this black top at the midriff cut out. She towered over me, and I went right at her. Just did Scotty method. Before you knew it, had stopped her. Boom, was immediately escalating, and went out on a date with her that night. But again, for these super hot chicks in elite, highly competitive markets, you're really up against it. I mean, that chick had a ticket to the final of the US Open and she threw it away. Easily a $4,000 ticket on the floor. Threw it away and texted me and said, yeah, I'm not going to be able to go because now I'm going to Mexico City. And it's like, oh, wonder who's wonder what's in Mexico City. Wonder who's flying her there. So I mean, these chicks live the life of billionaires. There's no way any of you can possibly believe it until you actually see it in real time. You're out with a chick one night, and the next night she's in Mexico City. She's in Greece. She's in London. I mean, they get to live the life of billionaires because billionaires are literally flying them around. So, they present unique challenges. But just the fact that I'm even stepping a toe into this world when I'm not, far from it, some sort of mega yacht Bond villain guy, it tells you kind of how far Scotty's brought me.
And I bet if you cornered a lot of these guys, because D has the ability, okay, to do something like this and use this strategy. He may not be at that in that tax bracket, but he's
Yeah, I'm not mega yacht tax
no, no,
bracket.
no,
I
no,
do
no.
pretty
You're
well, but
not.
I'm
But the
not.
point of it is that you can opt out at any time and do basically
Sugar
your
baby stuff.
own very,
Yeah,
very variance of this. So my point is that I guarantee if you corner a lot of these guys, would they don't even think it's within their like realm of reality to be able to generate something real like this.
no.
It's like, nah, why bother? Like It's
Yeah.
amazing to me. You know, it's like the girl next door was, by the way, that oh, now I'm off topic for a little bit. That 22-year-old hot chick that
Yeah.
stopped from the second swing, who looked like she was going in for the kiss. That was like the girl next door look. So, you know, there's a wide variety of different types of women that, you know, it's not all plastic down in Miami. There's
No.
a range of all sorts of different types of girls. So yeah, the girl next door is still hitting him up to this day. So
Yeah. And the other thing is I've kind of heard this over and over is, oh, all the Asian girls want white guys. Remember me and you ran that set together where there was the pretty Asian girl and then the hot girl from San Francisco that you really liked. Remember this? Kind of remember this? I mean, we had a lot going on that day.
did
No?
mm,
They were from Canada. Kind of remember this?
what was their ethnicity? Asian and white?
Asian, yeah, it was like Asian and Latina, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I went after the Asian. Like I thought she was hot. And
Yeah,
that chick,
yeah,
that chick gave me her number, but never hit me back.
yeah,
So, like there you go, right? Like the SMVO, all the Asian girls, they want the white blonde guy, whatever. I no, just not necessarily true. Not when you go and you prove this stuff out in reality.
yeah. And you got to do it with somebody who's obviously, um, he's debunking your theories, you know what I mean? And you go out there with an open mind and be willing, since you say you got to really ask yourself, am I where I really want to be right now? Am I getting the results I want to be getting right now? And is there room for improvement? You go out there, you're with somebody who's telling you that, dude, you do these beliefs are not serving you. Like they've been debunked. I've seen it over and over again. Like be willing to see that and you will change so that your life improves, you know? So it's
Your
important
client kind of said this, and he was a super nice guy. I want to reiterate that, but your client said this. He said, like, well, but I don't know if that's me because
hmm
he's white and blonde, he's got blue eyes, he's charismatic. And I
Yep.
said, dude, I was all of those things 6 months ago, 7 months ago when I started working with Scotty, and I wasn't getting these kinds of results. Scotty's 10x my dating life.
I
And
appreciate
I'm
that, man.
barely ever even on the apps. There's not a whole lot of reason for me to be because I can get so much higher quality with a lot less headache just walking around during the day or doing a session with you when I can once a month.
And you're a traditional guy like me, man. It's just something about it. It's just way more organic, and at a very, very deep
That's
level, it's just
that's awesome.
something very, very organic about it. And not to mention when that you had that slip up, it was like clear that you know what, it just still it didn't feel nowhere near as bad as when you slipped up with some girl online. It just
You're
was
right.
very different. I noticed that. I'm like, this is interesting. He was really like, you know, upset about that he slipped up with the online chick, but he wasn't
Yeah.
really that bad with that one. So it goes to show you the importance and how real that is to be able to create that sort of primal attraction in person with the girl. It's amazing. You know, huge, huge difference.
Huge. You're right. Yeah, that was a few weeks ago, yet 2, 3 weeks ago, something like that.
Yeah. About 3 weeks.
Where had a little slip up, I just thought, okay, I'll just see what the apps are delivering. The hot blonde chick, I just ordered her over, and the whole interaction does feel gross.
Yeah.
You're walking them out at 2:30 in the morning. I mean, it's just the whole interaction is gross. Whereas with this, even though the chick barely spoke English, I felt a lot better about it.
It feels
It's
like you did nothing to really earn it. You know what I mean? We're rewarded for that which we, put time in and we earn, that's what I feel like. It is also tied to that. I really believe that because I was never a big online guy either, but I did my fair share and I've had my fun on them. But it's like,
sure
it's so, it's one notch above an escort to me personally. That's the way
it
it
is.
felt. It's like I didn't even do anything to really earn this. It's like, she came like I've had girls come from freaking Georgia down to Miami. I've had girls come from Tampa over to Orlando, and it was like, hey, how you doing? Blah blah blah. Sits down on the couch. We have a glass of wine. Next thing you know, she's blowing me. It's like, I don't know. It's very yeah. It's just like, did I even earn this? It's like in and out of my house. I never hear from you again. It's very it's crazy. It's a hookup. These things are designed, mind you, to be hookup sites. These are hookup sites. I mean, and
Yes.
it's not organic. It's just not organic whatsoever. There's nothing
No.
there. There's no foundation there.
No.
Okay. There's just not.
No.
And it's
It's
going to
true.
get worse. Like you always say, D, it's like, ask yourself the question, is it getting better or is it getting worse? You know, honestly, with this whole AI thing, I mean, the other night we listened to like a big dating panel with all the top guys, so to
Yep.
speak. And remember, you were saying, like, dude, I can't believe these guys are actually resorting to this. Is like, this is the discourse around dating now and the future, what we're doing to get the advantages. Like we're conceding defeat and we're waving the white flag and saying, all right, you know, essentially cold approach is dead. And we're going to just, you know, get the best AI photos together and see how we do. Like it's insane, dude. It's
The
insane.
discussion was around just how fake can you make, where's the boundary? Where's the line? Just how fake can you make your AI photos before the chick doesn't want to be on the date, before she turns around and leaves? Because you want to walk right up to that line and not cross it. And I just thought, this is a ridiculous conversation. And I already know what the next evolution is going to be. The next evolution is going to be someone will have an AI app that's just texting these chicks for you. So, you got AI representation, and then you're going to have some kind of AI app hitting these chicks up with funny, cutesy lines and trying to get them out. And then then what? Then you show up and there's a real human being in front of you, and neither one of you has anything invested on any level. I
There's
guarantee
no
you
earning in
that's
that
that's the next
whatsoever.
evolution.
Yeah, there's no earning in that whatsoever, and that's why if you're gonna you're a reflection of that which you're attracting. Unfortunately, it's an ugly truth, and it's sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow. But if you're gonna stoop to that level, what do you expect to get back in return with these girls? You know what I mean? It's
Oh
there's
yeah, they're
no
going to be
earning.
two or
Like a
two or three
woman's
points
inherent
less.
nature
Sure.
since the dawn of time would be have us earn it. Like they want you to earn something valuable that they hold near and dear to their heart, which is, you know, their portal. I mean, their vagina, essentially. So, you know, they want, imagine that. Now we're at a place where there's nothing earned. It's just like we're looking at a resume on a piece of paper, and she's coming over and looking, and not only that, now looking at fake photo. You know, we're all catfishing each other. And just think about the quality and the disgust. Do you really want to partake in that nonsense? It's gross. It's absolutely gross. And the woman that you're going to get, unfortunately, she's she's created out of your own reflection. You know, she comes over. That's not a high quality woman. That's just not. If she's playing that game with you, you know what I mean? It's not a one-sided street there. If you're going to get to that level, guess what you're going to get in return? You're going to get something that's in and out of your house, doesn't really have that much invested, like you said, and you're not going to be happy. You're not going to feel good at your core. Your soul is going to be really, really troubled by that.
And if she's doing that with you, how many other
Yeah,
guys?
yeah, nothing special. Nothing special. You want to feel like you earned something. You do, and that's just the way it is. You want to feel like you put some hard work and earned it. You know what I mean? To a certain degree, it gets easier and easier, but there's always a sense of, you know, that's always kind of looming when you're out in the field.
Another quick point that we should make about these elite hot chicks. That chick in New York and several of these chicks that I've been out with in Miami.
Mhm.
I'll sometimes make the joke whenever they say like, "Well, you just approached me out of nowhere on the street." I'll sometimes make the joke and say, "Well, it's better than Tinder." They will frequently tell me, only when they are of this caliber, they'll frequently say, I've never been on a dating app. I don't even know how they work. And I
Good
believe it.
point. Yeah. It's a good
Yeah.
point to bring up. It's a good point to bring. We're
So if you
tapping into a
really
whole.
want to try to crack that, they're not on there anyway.
True. It's a great point, man. That there's a whole pool of women that are they're not with it. They're not with that. They're just not. They're not with it, man. And whether it's only the hot ones are. It's about the overall quality of the woman too.
Yes.
Beyond just the surface level stuff. Which yeah, a lot of the hotter. I mean, you will see a hot girls online, but there's lack of quality there. There's a lack of quality. You know.
I
So
agree. I
I don't
agree.
know. What do you think about the future here, man? Do you think I mean, if you were in this position, say you were 20 years younger, and where would you turn now? Like, it's so crazy that this is the advice that we're given, like to enhance your profile to certain these degrees in which, they're being all manufactured. You getting out of helicopters and you doing it like it's ridiculous. It's a video game. It's a simulation. It's so insane.
I mean, you say that, but I've seen guys profiles. I've seen some of these sites where they quite literally have average Joe Blow set up in a Gulfstream private jet or getting out of a helicopter,
Yeah.
with
No.
some Louis Vuitton luggage bag or something like that's not an exaggeration, as crazy as that sounds.
No.
So, how would I feel if I were 20 and I had to step into this market completely confused, unmoored, lost? Because when I was very young man, call it 22, 23, I want to say that's when the game really hit. And it
Hmm.
became a cultural phenomenon. And everybody read it, but I remember reading it and treating it as a entertaining story, but thinking that these were all nerds who were obsessed with, like, literally saying stuff like, "Oh, do you think spells work?" and weird conversational hooks. It did not speak to me as anything that I would do, and that is miles better because at least that's still person to person in life, real
Yeah.
life communication, than what these guys are running into right now. So, the so called dating experts were peddling stuff that I considered pretty goofball and had moved on from very, very, very quickly.
Not
But
very
I,
masculine. Not very masculine at all.
no, in fact, it felt the opposite to me, that they were almost adopting chick language. Like in fact, it frequently happens to me. When I was out of town very recently, I was in the elevator and I saw a great example of so-called game where there was a really attractive fitness blonde girl and good looking fit dude who was her height, maybe even an inch shorter. And she said to him something like, "Boy, you really couldn't get in very good reps yesterday. You looked like you were struggling." And he just sort of laughed it off, but he took a step closer to her in the elevator
Mm.
and said, "Yeah, I was struggling a little bit." And then she said something else kind of nonsensical to try to tease him and nag him and said, "Yeah, you look like the Unabomber with your hoodie on." And he said, "Yeah." And he took like another step forward. Like he wasn't even playing her game. And I thought, okay, there are still people out there that get how this all works. He just sort of recognized this is chick language trying to, quote, game me, and I should just be moving the ball forward. And that was all the guy was doing. Kind of made me smile. Stepped
That's
out of
great,
the
man.
elevator before it got too X rated, so I don't know how that story ended, but I imagine pretty happily for that guy.
Yeah. It's cool when you get the chance to really see it in action, man. It really brings me so much joy to see it happen. Like, because it's rare now. It's so rare. It's just so rare, and to be able to see what it really looks like when you see this girl light up in the street, and within 5 minutes, her hands are all over you. You're, it, it's 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 a lot of fun to watch, and it's totally against the grain, and all the shit advice and the peddling horrible information out there of cold approach is dead, and it's about time we convert on over, boys. Get with the times, get with the times, get with the times. Keep let's update those profile pictures, and let's get with the times and the AI stuff. Come on over here. This is the easier, softer way. No hard work, nothing. This is the easy way. Come get it. It's a trick, man. They're luring you in to get some ridiculous thing. You want the real thing, and it's still live. As long I was saying this to D the other day. Listen, this business, no matter how in the dirt this industry is or whatever, as long as there's women outside walking around and there's men on this earth, there's always going to be a need for this. There's always going to be some guy who wants to go holler at a girl. So we need more people out there who still believe, in this at its core. The our human spirit, the human spirit needs it. Like it really does. It needs to connect in real time with a beautiful woman right in front of his face. You know what I mean? It's like you can never take that away from us. You can never ever take that away, no matter how much the mainstream advice is saying it's dead. Get with the times. Let's go. It's over. People are not. That's a very feminine thing, right? Let's just surrender to the matriarchy, so to speak, right? Let's just go with what these people are saying, and this is what they want, right? They actually don't. They may say this is easier. I don't get a chance to go out. Blah 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 blah. But there's, like I said, there's women outside. You just got to get with the program. There's women outside. There's definitely women outside. And I had a run in like that the other day as well with I was in Whole Foods, and it was a really nice sight to see in Atlanta. It was like this really pretty good looking, jacked up white dude with a smoking hot uh, black girl, and they were holding a little cute baby in their like in her arms. And I was like, "You guys are the cutest couple I've seen all day," you know. And they lit up. They were like, "Oh, so thank you so much. We met, in this store." He approached me, so I was like, "Oh, really?" I'm like, I could just feel the masculine energy there, the feminine energy, and they start a family. It's just beautiful to see that, and you could just pick up on a lot of that stuff. It's nice. There is a distinct difference between an online couple than somebody that met organically in person like that. There's so much the woman knows about you immediately that checks so many boxes, like you said. It's whether there's it's subconscious, like, oh, the ambition. Okay, this guy must be, good at that. And it applies to work and applies to this and applies with his family. It's it's intense, man, and it's very real, and it needs to be continued to we have to be the ones pushing the right narrative, the right message for guys so that they can still get this. Because like you said, man, if I was 22 now, boy, oh boy, man, I don't know where I would turn. My head would be on a swivel, man. There's so much garbage out there, dude. There really is. It's insane. I was very, very fortunate, like, to have found like I'll even say those goofball type of PUAs, but they were still pushing a better message. This was before like the blow up of really any of this stuff. Instagram, dating, dating apps were corny. It was like it was really an ideal situation, and it was the best decision I ever made to sign up for that boot camp. It really really got the whole ball rolling. To mass approach like that over the course of a weekend was just huge. Without it, I wouldn't be where I am today. Honestly, I could fully say that. So, you know, my dad always
Sure.
used to say to me, "Take what you need and leave the rest behind." Is there things that I didn't resonate with that I thought were super corny? Like Dee said, yeah, of course. But there was also a whole bunch of good that I believed in and took with me that was good. Seeing that, first of all, I needed to see that there was other guys out there that were dealing with the same issues I was having here, and to just be side by side with them, arm in arm, and going out and doing the same thing and getting the permission to do it, getting the green light was huge, and getting the
Sure.
encouragement and the motivation, because society and the peer pressure is to not take action, right? To not take action, to just get in line, leave people alone during the day, stay in your lane, Oh, it's not permissible, this and that, get on the apps, get on Instagram and do it that way. Like that's actually that feels more comfortable, but guess what? Comfort is not always the answer to improving. And when you improve, there's actually a normal, there's growing pains that happen, dude.
Sure. Absolutely. I'm really glad you brought that up because the dating apps, all the online, the hookup culture is exactly that. It's to facilitate hookups and unhappiness. There's not a whole lot of families being born out of it.
Mm.
Can it happen? Yes, I've witnessed it. But that's not how it's designed. Because if people had a solid foundation and they were creating families, A, we wouldn't have a birth rate crisis in this country. B, the dating apps would go bankrupt because people would be on and off those things. They wouldn't feel the need to buy, I don't even know what's out there, what super likes and roses or whatever it is that you can send to these chicks to say, please, please look at my little fake AI photos first. I They wouldn't even have a revenue model. If it was
Yeah.
making people happy instead of unhappy and addicted to, this short-term mating strategy, they wouldn't even have a revenue model. They'd be out of business.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you mentioned, hey, look, you do this, you express yourself authentically as a man, you're going to attract a real woman, and you've got a shot at creating something real out of it. You can get what God designed. You can get a beautiful family out of it.
Yeah.
If you want to turn to the apps for that, can it happen? Sure, I've seen it happen, but the odds are insurmountably stacked against you, and you got to consider the quality that you're attracting.
And the growth factor too, like just sometimes like the more staying in your comfort zone, having all the virtual stuff do the work
Yep.
for you. What are you really learning? Are you being able to read social cues and be in tune with another human being, especially, and I think those are some of the most crucial parts of the relationship at the very beginning, where you really get to see each other. Like, well, there's a lot happening right there at the beginning, when you kind of get her hooked and she's, smiling and you're smiling. It's like there's a lot there, and it feels
Yep.
great. It absolutely feels great. And you get better at reading people. You get better at telling whether or not this girl is interested or not. Like all that stuff is really part of the process. And it's kind of just shutting that whole thing down and saying, this is the easier, cheaper way that you'll be comfortable. Don't worry about it. You're not gonna have to deal with any form of like rejection or confrontation. Like, don't worry about it. We got that handle for you. Of course, it's a marketing scam employ, man. Like I don't know. I just think it's ridiculous.
You know what? It's so funny that you say that. I love that very first time that you and I worked together, and I hit on that hot blonde that was just sitting there eating at Moxie's and got her phone number
Right.
and kind of looked at you like, yeah, like what do you got to teach me, right? And you said, yeah, yeah, dude, that was really good, bro. Probably four or five interest level out of 10. And in front of
Yeah,
your client.
exactly, dude.
On Sunday, there's a super hot brunette this time, eaten by herself at Moxie's, went up, did the whole thing, got the phone number, and your client said, wow, that girl was really hot. And it's come full circle. I was the one that said to him, nah, bro, that was a four or five out of 10 interest level. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean,
So
like
that that
you
that's
you learn to read this stuff. And
you
it
do.
was a
Yeah.
totally dead number. But you learn because I hadn't really been on the other side, right? I hadn't seen crazy burning attraction up front. And guys, I'm sorry to say this. Like I said, I'm not saying any of this is good or right or healthy or fair, but they simply won't settle for less anymore. And you can't make an impact doing anything else. They want their little dream man or nothing. And that's
Hmm.
it. That's the deck we're all playing with right now. It's not going to get any better. So take whatever action you need to with Scotty right now today, because tomorrow is going to be harder than today.
Yeah, the stuff that you see is just not going to swing it any. It's just not going to cut it anymore.
No.
Like they are right when they say like it's here to stay. All this stuff is here to stay. It's going to keep getting pushed. People are always looking for a cheaper, easier way out to really avoid this stuff, creative avoidance, so to speak. And it's like it's not going anywhere. But the stuff they're pushing, as far as if you want to go in the field, believe me, you're with the right people. D's part of the team. He's like a brother at this point. This is the way to go to tap into your real, authentic, masculine presence and that primal instinct to want to be with a woman. That's what we're about here. Not all they're really doing, to be honest with you. And we're not going to say any names, but it's just like just getting in conversations with women is just not going to cut it anymore.
No.
Having just a conversation, going indirect, and just getting a phone number, it's just not going to cut it anymore. We're even sitting here saying that even when you make it an amazing impact within that 10-minute, 15-minute frame, there's a lot of variables to it. Like the burn rate is very,
Still
very,
staring at a burn rate. Yeah. They
yeah,
could
we're
have a
still
boyfriend
up at,
sitting at home. They could
we
have they could have anything. They could have athletes and generic mega rich dudes in their DMs. There are any number of variables you can't control. So you better control what you can.
And even like you said, man, even with this like maxed out, you're still up against it. I mean, it just is what
Yep.
it is. It looks like 10%, or that's a pretty, you're doing really, really well if you're hitting that pretty consistently. You're
Which
doing
is
pretty
what it
well.
was, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I would say I hit on 20, 22 chicks, two dates out of it, one Miss Brazil, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much what you're looking at. And I am happy with that because I understand it's not going to get any better. And if we pump up the volume, I get all my traveling out of the way in October. I'm going to be here for extended stay. Season's really going to ramp up down here in November on. We're going to have November until basically April to
Yeah.
hit it hard all over the place. And I just think that you've basically done, if I were a baseball player, you took me into the off season and into spring training, just getting me razor sharp so that now when the season gets here, I'm just going to be able to crush home runs.
This will be our first real season to get like
It will.
time working with each other when we're just in peak season. It's gonna be epic, man. I'm really looking forward to the process, and I think it's gonna be on the other end of it. There's gonna be something good waiting for it. I mean, it's just you know hard work ultimately wins at the end, and it gets rewarded. It really does. So I'm a big believer in it. I've seen it time and time again. I know that if you put the work in, you get good results for it. The game delivered me like my perfect girlfriend at the end of that 6-year run I had back in New York. And I chose a decision back then that I'll have to live with. But as far as what the game did and what it provided, I had an amazing girlfriend, at the end of it, really. So it never fails. If you do it and you actually put the work in, it's just a matter of time before it happens, you know. I mean, now I look back, I said, like, I probably should have made it work, but my father and my mother, and I went to go with my family, and the long distance thing didn't work out. But the game still delivered an amazing girlfriend to me. So now I'm just back on the horse and doing the same thing side by side with D as well. And yeah, my market was the same thing as what D's doing down here, which is his definite product, his market right now. So his 10%, I think it will might even, I mean, whether it increases or not, there's a
Oh,
good,
dude, on
yeah,
Friday, I couldn't miss. I
yeah,
mean, you said I was shooting like 70, 80%.
yeah.
And most of them were hitting me back. Then we were basically just staring at burn rate and trying in time crunch, right? Because I
Hmm.
was out of town, I think, in the next 3 days. And that was the other thing. I had to squeeze all these chicks in before I was out of town again, which like I could only squeeze in two of them
Yeah,
before I was out.
dude. Sometimes I
Uh,
even forget because we're all selfish and self-centered. Like I
right.
forget that this guy's running, a multi-million dollar business. So I'm like, I'm like, yo, did you do this? Did you do this in the morning? Did you hit this girl up? He's like, yo, Scotty, I don't know, like, I'm busy, dude. Like, I'm like, oh shit, okay, I forgot. Like, I forget sometimes that have the luxury of. I mean, I get exhausted just like the next man with it, honestly, to be real with you too. And life is always here, but it's like, I do have a lot more free time when it comes to following up with leads, but it's also a lot like, man, I mean, to keep score and track of all the girls and all the leads, it's a full-time job,
It
it
is,
really
dude.
is a full-time job.
It is. It's true. And I'm glad that you said that about, hard work. And it's just ultimately always rewarded. I don't like pushing my faith on everybody else, but maybe with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, this
Yeah.
is timely. It's
Yep.
my absolute favorite Bible verse. It's Romans 5:3. And it's not only that, but we rejoice in our sufferings. For
Mm.
suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces proven character, and proven character, hope, and hope does not despair.
That's a nice way to kind of put a bow on this podcast, man. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's a fantastic quote and Bible verse. Really a good one. Really, really a good one. And it really resonates with, you really need to apply that to
Everything.
life. Yeah, everything, everything, everything. And if people could just see game not as some sort of weird little side hobby or something separate from life, it is life. It's a part of life. There's a big tree and it's just one branch from that tree, so we are big advocates, and it has an effect on everything else as well. If you go at it, you're really not just getting the girl, you're improving everything else that comes with it too, which is another sad thing that unfortunately people miss when they just decide to wave the white flag and go do the online thing. It's all the good stuff that comes with it. I would have never met D, some really good friends, and restarted relationships with family members, my sister. So it's brought so many good things that I attribute solely to just pushing myself and starting to develop my personality as a young man, because school and education is ridiculous. It's not prompting people to learn how to, like, be more social with each other. I mean, what we had recess where everybody would run around, that was pretty much it. But, like, you really have to self-educate yourself and put yourself out there. It's the only thing that really does work. Um, so yeah, man. Any other scriptures would you like to share, or what?
That's it, man. That's all I got. That's the only one that I really kind of know by heart. So I was always really impressed with Charlie Kirk, that he could just spout. The guy had a really expansive mind. He could
Mm.
just sort of quote chapter and verse and really knew his way around, really knew his way around the law. I'm always impressed with people like that. But that's it. That's the depth of that. Was just something that always spoke to me. So when you said, look, you put in the hard work, you get rewarded eventually. The reward does come. That's it. I believe that that's God directed and designed. And there is nothing wrong with being a man and trying to connect with the woman that you want. There's nothing wrong with that at all. That's completely normal and natural. What's unnormal and unnatural is creating a bunch of weird AI photos and trying to interact with somebody else's weird catfishy AI photos. That feels off to me.
Yeah. Whenever
To
you're on the
facilitate
side,
short-term hookups. Yes.
whenever you're on the side of Mother Nature, God, you're on the winning side. Whether it's not society and what society is telling you to do, and the message you're hearing, but, like, when you really think about it, that's the path you want to follow. Like, that in your heart, is a more natural feeling, no matter what stage you're at, no matter what level you're at, beginner, advanced, intermediate. We know in our hearts that we're here to, build relationships, connect with people, help each other out when we need. It's like, we need more than ever before uh, person to person interactions, which is like a dying breed. It's crazy that I've heard new clients tell me, no, Scotty, that's, some low 20s guys telling me that that's been secondary, man. Digital's primary now. This is our primary way of communicating. That's all my relationships. I'm like, dude, yeah, we're in some bad times, boys. So it's, you want to, we're here to set the example and show everybody that no, it's not dying. And as long as women are outside and there's places to go, like that, it's always going to be here. There'll always be a demand for it. And we're being called to do that. That's really what it is. It really came from a deep calling to want to go out there and connect with women and connect with more women and have a developed skill set at being able to have a little bit of range when it comes to my personality and especially when it comes to women. You want to be able to be the dude who could be really sexual when needed, and you also want to be the dude who has the ability to be formal. You know, you need to have some range. Your personality just can't be just one note, and the mind is incredible. You could be a lot of you could be you could have good humor. You could be a dominant, sexual authoritative presence. There's so many different things that, as the deeper your bag is, the better your game will be overall.
That's great. All right, I got to
All right.
sign off, Scotty. It's always awesome talking to you.
Yeah, man. Great chat. Appreciate it, guys. If you want coaching, absolutely book a session, book a call, and I look forward to talking to more of you guys, man. I appreciate it. Yo, thanks
Guys,
for
hit
joining.
this guy up. It's market's not getting any easier.
All right. All right, D. Later, man.
Later.
Later.